G'day. This is the second video in Mathematical KM, Keith Malumbi, and playing the Aquatic Water Horse, or the Hippopotamus, against the Leebot 2000 in this case. So just my thoughts on the moves as we go through. Okay, here we go. Starting on the king side, fianchetto. Get development on the king side first. King's pawn, fianchetto. Taking the centre. The preferred third move, not the double fianchetto, but moving the queen's pawn, according to Chess Giant's course, and I think also Ginger's. Knight comes out, no three-pawn centre on the queen's side. Apparently questionable to go starting the fianchetto, but again with the Hippo, the order is a little interchangeable. Queen comes out, now that's interesting. Don't see that all that often. Anyway, we continue. At least keeping the queen back from putting in a little check, and it's a move we're always going to play. Knight comes out. We get our h-pawn, which stops that knight from coming in, and some control over black's light bishop. Black develops their dark bishop. We bring out our knight, develop castle's kingside. Our final pawn move to have the complete thick-skin Hippo pawn set up. Develops his other bishop, her, by the look of Leebot. And we've developed our knight with one more piece before, and there we go. We have the full thick-skinned Hippo. Setup complete. And it's at this point, the breather moment, as the chess giant puts it. We look at all of our pawn breaks and decide which one we're going to play and whether or not we were going to castle first. He puts always look at the two central pawns, which one has defended the fewest times. The e-pawn has got one defender, two defender, that's the queen and the knight. The d-pawn has got bishop, knight and queen. It's got three. So the weaker of the two is the e-pawn. It's also in favour of attacking it. It's the one on the same side as the king. So what did we do? Castle first, safety, and that's also going to help having a rook on the f-file with looking at an f-pawn push. He's developed his h-pawn. That does take away the g5 square, where sometimes we end up with a knight. Let's take a look. We're playing our push anyway. Defended by a pawn and a knight and another pawn, but we don't really want to use the g-pawn. Okay, what happens? Ignores our push, goes down on the a side. This is interesting. This is stepping a little away from Solomon G, the chess giant's course. My thinking was, if he now pushes his e-pawn, we've locked up the centre, which is something the Hippo player wants to do most of the time. If he doesn't push his e-pawn forward and doesn't take, well, we can get a pawn fork on a queen and a knight by taking with either our e or our f-pawn. And I don't think Blackall's going to let that happen, but you've got to give him the chance to muck up. So the odds are that the black e-pawn is not going to stay still. If he now takes our f-pawn, that's kind of what we were expecting in the first place, and we're back into the lines that we've sort of studied a little. If he takes the d-pawn, it's all going to open up and it's going to get pretty interesting. Of course, our d-pawn is protected by a bishop, a pawn and a knight, so that's three. And he will have just one knight, so we should end up in front on a transaction there. He takes it. And got a nice little star. The computer liked that move. Didn't like me coming in with the knight. I thought that's pressurising the light bishop, which is one I wouldn't mind taking. Also, a knight. I was sort of thinking if this goes down this way, he's likely to take with his knight, and then I will end up with a bishop on an outpost at least for a little while. And not a bad outpost. So let's see what happens. He took, I took. Now the computer now likes me getting the outpost there. Black moves his queen back, having his own plans. And let's grab some space on the king side as we move forward. It's threatening to trap, and this is a common idea in the Hippo. The main thought of moving the g-pawn forward was, if nothing else happens, we're going to trap black's light bishop. Because pawn forward, where's it going to move? Can't move. Let's see what happens. He's threatening my dark bishop. And got given a bit of a question mark, and there's a reason for that. Because sure, I'll move my dark bishop. What if I take a knight with it? What if you take back? You still haven't prevented the pawn capturing black's light bishop. So this should work. We take. Black takes back. Caught it. Got given great move and all that, but it's been in the works for a while. That was the plan. Now, black could have taken a rook, which I would have then taken back, and my queen would have been on a lovely diagonal. And then I still would have got the bishop. Essentially, I would have got two bishops for a rook, which is still a pretty good deal, as well as that my queen would be on a beautiful diagonal and my rook would have an open f-file. I think it would have been pretty good. As it is, only moving the bishop to the e-file, that really does deserve the double question mark. I don't think a human 2000 player may or may not play that, but what it means is I take the bishop. He can't now take that rook, or not, and keep his queen. Has to take it to save his queen, and I was about to say rook steps to safety, but no, we're material up, let's trade down, and in between intermezzo, is that the right word? Move, check, takes it, and now we step out of the way. So let's take stock of the situation now. We are a full piece being a knight up. What else can we say about the situation? The majority, 4 out of 6 of my pawns are on light squares. Black's only got a dark bishop, so that's good. We may look at moving. There's nothing currently stopping our 2 pawns that are on dark squares are not locked on the dark squares. They can move forwards. So playing on the colour complexes, we're playing on the light squares. He's got a dark bishop. Things are looking good. So let's see how we go. Infiltrating with his dark bishop, but the only thing that's on a dark square is the king, and change that soon enough. So in other words, it's a little bit of a black waving the flag, but it doesn't do too much other than perhaps providing cover for maybe a rook coming in. So let's see what we can do to avoid a rook coming in. We move the queen. If we can swap off the final pair of rooks, well and good. So I'm looking at moving my B rook across to F as soon as I can. He does invade with his rook, threatening to, well, if it does take the bishop, it'll just be a swap because his dark bishop can't provide cover for that attack. I do need to move my queen now, and my bishop's fine. I need to make sure I'm covering my knight. There we go. And not only have I moved my queen away from that little attack, you'll look at the diagonal, it's getting in very close to the black king. He moves his queen to support his bishop, potentially a little check that could happen. Be difficult, I think, for him to get his queen in there. Let's try and get rid of those rooks. His rook's now protected by a pawn, but it got a question mark, and that would be because, yeah, goodbye. Not only do I swap the rooks, that's some of the cover out from in front of the king. So, thanks. So, check. This may be a little greedy, but again, let's try and get the material advantage as big as possible, and then we should be able to win the endgame that comes, if we're not already in an endgame. Check again. Brings his queen across. Not going to let me kill all the pawns. But at this stage, we've got 3, 4, 5, 6 pawns versus 6v6. I've got a knight that can attack on both colours and a light squared bishop. So we're a whole piece up. His bishop will be next to useless once I move my pieces onto the light squares. So should I trade queens? Yes. So queen's gone, and let's see if we can put the ball in the hole. Threaten the bishop. Let's get the king out and activated. He's thinking the same thing, trying to get his king to the middle as well. King forward, king forward. Let's move my knight, try and get my knight in, and the knight there will protect a e-pawn forward. Infiltrating with his bishop, my a-pawn's in a little danger, not anymore, never again from that bishop. Threatening my knight with his bishop. Let's threaten his bishop with my knight. The knight comes back, jostling here. Let's try and trade down some more pieces, pawns. Oh look, 2 Botviniks shaking hand. Botvinik grip, Botvinik grip. But let's take off to the side. Again, let's trade down till we've got just the pure advantage. There we go. Now what have we got? 4 versus 3 in the way of pawns. All of my pawns are on light squares. The only way you can threaten the back, my h-pawn, is if he can get his king in there, which he goes for. I'll let him get the backward, the h-pawn, but my g-pawn will be just fine and dandy forever, protected by the bishop. Didn't like that. He's going to protect his h-pawn. King forward. He takes it. Got a discovered check if I go for it now. That would let me get past a, and there we go. Discovered check. Chasing the pawn. Move the pawn forward. Chasing the pawn. And now the pawn protects the bishop, and the bishop protects the pawn, and the pawn's only 2 squares from upgrade. Harry the h-pawn, black's only hope. Let's try and put in a little bit of a stop to that. Bring the knight across. Check, so we come across. Moving his bishop around, it's not really achieving very much. Let's eat a pawn there before we come across. Threaten the bishop and his a-pawn, but the a-pawn's not. Now the thoughts here. If I take the a-pawn, I'm sacking my knight. Should he take it? Is it a mistake? No. Even the computer gives me a star. Why is it not a mistake? If bishop takes knight, I go g-pawn forward. I'm going to promote. So, and that's why he doesn't take the knight. So we move the knight away. It just meant that we'd removed his a-pawn. Let's go forward. Sack your bishop for the pawn if you want. No. Let's move this pawn forward. That a-pawn. Stopping the a-pawn. Bishop stopping the a-pawn. King is currently stopping the g-pawn. Let's move my king forward and threaten his h-pawn. Slowly crushing. Now his king is protecting his h-pawn, and it's preventing the g-pawn from moving forward. It's doing a lot of work, that king, all the while his bishop is stopping the a-pawn, and it's threatening the e-pawn. But the e-pawn can just start to... Oh, he throws in a check. He's going to make a little bit of progress. No, because the king can't leave the g-pawn. We can keep pushing with the e-pawn. It's just getting too difficult. The knight's now protecting the bishop, so we may get to the point where we can move the g-pawn, threatening the knight. It's come in. Now it's a little bit of a net forming. The bishop is taking away e8 and g8, and the knight is taking away e7 and g7. And if the pawn was to provide the check, this is going to be hard to get out of. Don't know why that got a thumbs up, and I don't know how it saves, because all I need to do is make sure my bishop can't be taken, which the e-pawn will now provide. And now I can checkmate with either pawn. Bang. So that's the water horse, aqua horse, hippopotamus, chess beating the Leebot 2000. So thanks for watching.